Good show this weekend. Well, I keep saying this, you know, it's like this whirlwind where, you know, we just wait and wait and wait for this time to come around, and it's here, and you're like, it's finally here, and then all of a sudden it's over, and you're like, I always compare it to horror summer camp, because you form these connections and bonds with people that you share something really special with, and you have these memories that last forever, and then all of a sudden it's over and you're kind of sad, and then we do it all again next year. So that's why it's like horror summer camp. So my advice to you is just take these last few hours in, enjoy it, go hug the people that you love seeing every year, and we still got a lot of show left. This is now going to be our last panel of the day, of the weekend of Texas Frightmare Weekend 2024. I can think of no better guest to take us out with. Mr. Dermot Maroney, who is scheduled to be 4 to 5, has some travel scheduling conflicts, so he's got to get out of here. But make sure you go down and maybe say hi before he leaves if you're hoping to see him. But we are here to see Mr. Doug Jones! You got no excuse if this band is coming out like this.
Can you hear me?
My favorite thing is that I walked by your table to say hi earlier, and you were literally in the arms of someone. Like someone was just holding you in their arms. It was incredible.
You've all been at my table this week, and you know I've been mauling all of you, so thank you for not calling the cops.
Some guests you meet are like, you know, fist bumping, they're worried about getting sick. Not Doug Jones. He's in your arms. I would like to ask you, after playing, you know, all of these iconic monsters and creatures over the years, do you ever just want to play a human? Do you ever just want to play a normal guy, or is that not fun?
Yes, you tapped into where I'm at right now,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Now that I'm going to be turning 64 next week. Don't I look great? As an aging gentleman, I would like to take the rubber bits off and play more humans.
Yeah.
But I'm not retiring. I'm going to be Betty White for
yeah. I mean, you were so great in adaptation. You've been there's so many roles where you have been behind a mask, but when you finally get to take the latex and the makeup off, and we just get to see you.
Well, it's happened a couple of times. On Star Trek Discovery as Saru, of course that's a rubber-clad alien character, but they had a couple episodes in season 3 where I went into a hologram program and became a human. So it was Dougie with a wig on.
Yeah.
And so that was a nice gift they gave me. And then what we do in the shadows is better than that. So that started as a rubber from head to toe prosthetic makeup job, and they have now morphed me into getting burned and coming back and getting burned again. Now it's me with a wig, right? So take it, I will take it. So bless you all for going on that journey with me from monster to human.
I'm going to start out where no one ever starts out with you, but it makes sense to start out here because it's the very first thing you did. I'm a huge fan of Mac Tonight.
No, are you? Some of the other people are glad Mac Tonight.
I love anything kind of kitschy like that. If you don't know, Mac Tonight was a McDonald's mascot. He was a really cool moon-faced gentleman with sunglasses.
Crescent moon with sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Saying, when the clock strikes 6:30.
So you had obviously kind of already been doing physical work and miming and contortion. What led to, how do you end up as the moon-faced mascot for McDonald's?
Well, when I started acting for television and film, that was I started with commercials. And the Max and I campaign was my 4th TV commercial booking within my first 6 months of being an actor.
Wow.
So that was at the very beginning. I played a mummy, an alien, and a nerd before that in other commercials. And so the Max and I campaign came up from McDonald's, and they cast 4 commercials right off the bat to play on the West Coast, and like a regional campaign to up their business after 4 p.m., hence the nighttime character moon. It was such a big hit, and sales figures went up so much that McDonald's said, let's take it nationwide. It became a national commercial campaign. They filmed more spots for that. It was so gangbusters nationwide that let's take it worldwide. So I played in many countries around the world for 3 years, doing 27 commercials as Max and I bought my first house with that. Thank
wow.
you. Yes. And that's how I met people in the creature effects industry, was by doing the Max and I campaign. Steve Neal was a creature effects designer who made the Moonhead, and he brought in people to puppeteer and to help keep the Moonhead pristine and make new ones when they needed new ones. As we went through this campaign, we went through a few. And so we would borrow people from other creature shops like Stan Winston Studios and Rick Baker Studios and Tony Gardner Studios. So I was meeting people from the creature effects industry, and they would go back to those creature shops after our commercial shoot and be like, oh, there's a small, tall, skinny alien that this movie we're casting. I just worked with him, right? So I got a lot of those referral phone calls, and that's kind of, so I kind of sidestepped and circumvented the standard casting process.
Right.
Because I got calls at home directly from the monster makers, and the producers of movies and TV shows were like, well, you guys know better than we do, so to cast him. That's, so I had a very easy route in, but it's been very hard. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that Mac Tonight actually led to your what would be your career.
Yeah.
One of your other early roles is with Tim Burton in Batman Returns.
Batman Returns.
Other than Guillermo, who we're definitely going to get to and talk about, I would imagine that your sensibilities as a performer really aligned with who Tim is as kind of a visionary. What was it like working with him?
I love Tim Burton. And like Guillermo del Toro, he's a genius, but he's so easy to hang out with. He's just like good humored guy that you go to college with and go, hey buddy, want to hang out? And so Batman Returns was also early in my career. That was 1992. And being Thin Clown, I was cast as one of Danny DeVito's sidekicks. That was a fun casting story too. Okay, so I had just done, remember the movie Hook?
Oh, yeah.
I was a pirate in Hook, believe it. It's not credited on IMDb because I was kind of like a background guy, a pirate. I had a long blonde curly wig on, full beard, and eye patch. And I sold eye patches in Pirate Town. Anyway, we watched the movie together. I'd have to pause it and go, that's me. But stunt coordinator, or one of the stuntmen on Hook was an old friend of mine, Bob Yurkis. He's a legend in the stunt world, and he comes from a circus background. So he was going to be involved with Batman Returns because it has a circus theme to it, right? The Red Triangle Circus game. Yeah. So they were looking for all kinds of circus acts, like that's why they had a Buddha lady, a sword swallower, and a knife throwing lady, and a juggler, and whatnot. So I'm a contortionist, I put my legs behind my head. Bob Yurkis, my friend, knew that, so he sees me on Hook, and he goes, oh, hey, yeah, I got a phone call a week later from the stunt coordinator on Batman Returns. Hey, we were referred to you by Bob Yurkis. I'm like, oh, are you free today to come in and meet us at Warner Brothers? That was the one day that I had off from Hook. I was still filming Hook at the time, and that Thursday I had off. So I said, I'm free today. So I went to Warner Brothers, I met the stunt coordinator in his office, and he says, so show me what you can do. so I start the show. So he goes, hang on right here, I'm gonna go get somebody, I want you to show him. He comes back in the room with Tim frigging Burton. So of course I wet my pants. Because this is our director, Tim. Show him what you just showed me. And Tim goes, wow, okay, so hang on here, we're gonna go in the next room and talk about you. So I'm sitting in this office by myself just going, and the longest 2 minutes of my life. They come back in, and Tim Burton says, well, congratulations, you got the part. The part, what's the part? I know the part. So I thought I was just there for like a side gag for one day. And apparently there was a role called Thin Clown that was a part of the Red Triangle Circus gang. I ended up working on getting a 7-week contract. Tim liked having me around. We connected, even though I was barely on a very small supporting role in the film. And so he kept me alive for 14 weeks.
Wow.
He doubled my time on the movie and saved my year without having a bad financial year that year. So thank you, Tim Burton. Right there. And then that credit on my resume then led into the next job that came up for me was Hocus Pocus.
Perfect segue of where I was going. I was 92 and then in 93, Hocus Pocus, which really was your kind of debut onto the scene of creature acting.
Yeah.
Talk about playing Billy Butcherson. It's so physical and to see, that movie was not a hit when it came out.
In the theaters, it was not a hit.
It came out in the summer, which is a weird time to release
July
that movie.
1993. Against all the summer blockbuster movies.
Came out around the same time as another Tim Burton movie, Nightmare Before Christmas, which was also not a hit. Which is funny because those two movies are keeping Spirit Halloween in business. You are an icon of Halloween, which knowing you is about the highest achievement you can gain. Seeing little Billy Butcherson walk around in your Halloween decorations. How do you look back on your time as kind of a young performer of the movie?
Oh gosh, well you say young, bless you.
You're still young.
Well, I was in my early 30s when we filmed. I was born in 1960, so in 1990, end of 91,
Somebody just goes, what?
Bless you. But I was when Hocus Pocus came out in theaters, I was 33 years old at that time. So, but it was kind of like I felt like this could be my breakout. This could be the one. I'm going to be on lunchboxes. I wasn't. The movie didn't do very well at the box office. They pulled it. I was like, oh, that's the end of that. But that's before we knew what media was going to become. Yeah. Right. So then it was Disney film. So then Disney owned ABC. So ABC did a Sunday night movie viewing of it on their TV channel, and it was like ratings were through the roof. Well, then they also owned the Freeform channel, which was the ABC Family Channel back in the day, and they started running that repeatedly during October. Thank you all for watching, because that told Disney that, we need to do this more, because the ratings were, thank you. So then Freeform runs it still to this day, every month, all of October every year. And then, of course, home video. VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. It's come out on every format, and you bought all of them. Thank you. So that told the studio that we might have a sequel in our budget here. So we have to do Hocus Pocus 2 29 years later.
Yeah.
That was a real treat for me to reprise my Billy Butcherson role again and work with the ladies again. And the difference was on Hocus Pocus 1, I was still new in my career. I didn't have any big credits, and no one knew my name on the street at all. So working with Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy and Jim was like, it's nice to meet you. And 29 years later, I have a career of my own now, and so I felt like I'm more of a peer now. And I got in front of them again for the first time, and I was like, But the difference was that Bette Midler was she was so sweet. She was like, well, how have you been doing? I love The Shape of Water. Thank you, Bette. I loved it too. Oh, she saw my movie. So and another difference too was Hocus Pocus 1 in 1993. The crew was great, but they didn't know who I was either. They just treated me like a person. I was happy for that. Hocus Pocus 2, our crew was a bunch of young people that grew up watching the first movie. So I walked onto the set and it was like, right? It was like Elvis had returned, That was so great. So great to have that vibe and that energy.
And the irony now is you are on lunchboxes.
I am on lunchboxes.
And
the movie comes and lapel pins.
The movie comes, it definitely came out to theaters last year for the anniversary, but I think Disney brings it back to the theaters every year. And the sequel, but I think, am I correct me if I'm wrong, they just announced a third one? Maybe?
Disney did announce a Disney Hocus Pocus 3, but they haven't, no details.
No details.
It's in the development stage, so I have not gotten a call.
Right.
You know, and the farewells of the witches and me felt kind of final.
Yeah.
And Hocus Pocus too.
Yeah.
We'll see if they revive any of us or not. I don't know. I'm not desperate.
It's not
But I
Hocus,
would love to play him again.
it's not Hocus Pocus without the Sanderson sisters and Billy Richardson. So, since you brought up Shape of Water, it's kind of a perfect segue. Your friendship with Guillermo del Toro over, how many ever years? Six movies and counting.
now.
26 years, 6 movies and counting. Going all the way back to Mimic, which I love. Mimic, and is, was, I think, considered an underrated movie of his filmography. How did that friendship and relationship first form? How did you meet and
Well, like I said before, Mimic was a movie that I got by a referral phone call, but like I was just talking about that process. At Creature Effects House, Rick Lazarini's shop, I got a phone call on my landline. Hello? We didn't know who was calling. Hey Doug, are you available for a night shoot tonight downtown Los Angeles? I'm like, out of work actor. Yeah, I'm free. So I ended up going downtown, standing on top of a 4-story brick building with a rain machine hitting me, and I was wearing like some kind of a weird mask with a trench coat that looked like wings. And I had no idea what the movie was. It was called Mimic, I guess. So I'm on top of this building, just kind of leaning over the edge and looking down, and that was all I did that day. And I never met the director. It was down on the ground. The whole crew, I'm up on the building by myself. I could have died. Anyway, so they liked what I was doing, and they called me back for another 2 days. It was the second day that I was, that was a green screen shot with a smaller crew, and lunchtime comes, and the director sits right across the table from me. It was Guillermo del Toro. And Mimic was his first American film. And with a big budget, and he had quite a reputation in Mexico, but I hadn't seen any of that work. So I was like, here's this roly-poly, jolly man with these bright blue eyes, and he was so excited about monsters. He said, so tell me everything you've been in before. And I'm like, okay. Well, I listed off my credits for that at that time, and he was, this is 1997. So I just done Warriors of Virtue, if anybody knows that movie. Okay. and I had done Hocus Pocus by then, and he's like, oh, that was Tony Gardner, right? He did the makeup. Is he a nice guy? He knew all the makeup artists and knew of them, and like wanted to meet them all. I'm like, ah. And so it was like talking to a 12-year-old boy who was so excited about monsters. And so we got, the energy was like, between the two of us, and he said, do you have a card? So I had a business card with my picture drawn on it, like that I did myself. It was a profile of me doing this. My phone number was resting right by my teeth, So he's like, oh, that's great. He put it in his wallet. And 5 years later, I get another phone call from a Creature Effects House called Spectral Motion. Hey, Doug, it was Steve Wang was the artist who was calling me. I've done a couple of movies with him before. Hey, Doug, it's Steve Wang. We're here with the director who says he knows you, and can you come in tomorrow for to have us have a look at you for a new movie we're working on? Oh, out of work actor? Of course I can. So that director was Guillermo del Toro. The movie was Hellboy 1. So apparently earlier that day, I love you guys. We'll talk. Okay. My friends back there. I got distracted. Earlier that day, they had the Creature Effects Shop had done a maquette of a stadium from the Hellboy movie, and which a maquette, of course, is a sculpture scaled down to give a 3-dimensional view of what this character is going to look like. So they finished that, and Guillermo had not seen it yet. So Guillermo del Toro, the director of Hellboy, comes walking into the room, and they unveil this for him. And apparently I wasn't there, but they said that he fell to his knees, and he said, "You are so beautiful, and I am so fat." I don't know why, but so the guys in the shop all had worked with me before, and they said, "Well, you know who'd be perfect to play this is Doug Jones." And Guillermo said, "Doug Jones? Wait, I know Doug Jones." I'm my card comes out of his wallet. 5 years later, so that's why they called me. But let's give him a call right now.
Wow.
So that's how Hellboy 1 happened for me. Yeah, but then that was the movie that really, where we got to know each other much better. We were 3 months together on that movie, and we had a very developed a non-verbal kind of communication really quick as a director and an actor. We vibed very well. So he kept coming back again and again for me over the years, including the lovely Pan Slapper.
Yes. Absolutely, one of the most graceful, beautiful, physical performance ever committed to celluloid, and one of the other movies you've made together, which is The Reason You're Here, and what I would really argue is his most underrated movie is
Crimson Peak.
If you can even say he has underrated movies, but you're here with our friends at Arrow, who are putting out a new gorgeous 4K, which comes out literally on the 21st, like in 2 days.
They have them at the booth.
They have them at the booth, so you can get them early. Talk about your experience on that. My understanding is that Guillermo was supposed to make a Haunted Mansion. He loves the Haunted Mansion. He lives in the Haunted Mansion, and then he was talking to Disney and flirting with Disney about making a Haunted Mansion movie, and he kind of took all that energy and that aesthetic and put it into Crimson Peak. But talk about your experience on that movie, because it's just
Crimson Peak was great. If you have seen Crimson Peak, I was 2 of the ghost ladies in that movie. Yes, and the other 3 ghost ladies were played by Javier Botet, another tall, skinny fella. He's a love. I love him dearly. So I was the mother ghost with the dark black veil in the beginning of the movie, talking to Mia Wasikowska, who was playing the young lead of the movie, and I warned her ahead of time, beware of Crimson Peak, as I cradled her in her bed. Not creepy at all, as her dead mother. Yeah, so, and then later when she grows up and marries Tom Hiddleston and moves off to Crimson Peak, right? She forgot that I had said that, okay. And when at Crimson Peak, all the red ghost ladies show up, right? And so I was the bathtub ghost in that. Now, okay, so let me tell you something. Playing ghost ladies was a challenge, and I was like, okay, can I pull this off, and will the audience buy this? Okay, so as the mother ghost, I was wearing a corset and a long dress and a veil with a lovely hat. Like, okay, that's selling the lady parts. The bathtub ghost, I was stark naked with prosthetic body put on me, right, by DDT Effectos Especiales. That is the creature effects team that did Pan's Labyrinth. So they created these ghost ladies for all of us. And so I was a saggy-bodied, naked old lady in this with an updo hairdo and a hatchet to my head. Because that's how I died, I guess, since I'm showing up. So I'm in a bathtub, and Mia Wasikowska comes in, and it kind of wakes me up, and I'm like, I'm coming out of this bathtub, and I stand up, and have to step over the edge of the tub and come walking down the hallway after her. Well, I'm thinking, okay, I am a tall, skinny boy. How am I going to pull off this look and this vibe? I better sell the lady bits, right? So my first take, I'm like, oh, hi, I was kind of creepy sexy, and so Guillermo del Toro, he kept it halfway through the take, he goes, cut! Dougie, it's too sexy. Too sexy! Oh, goodness gracious. But I'll tell you, Mia Wasikowska, Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain were all very lovely to work with. Someone asked me once, what does Tom Hiddleston smell like? I'm not sure that people here want to know. So to me, he smelled like latex foam rubber, because that's what was on my face. Everybody smelled like latex foam rubber.
I want to talk about Shape of Water, because that, for not only Guillermo's career, but just the kind of genre in general, to be acknowledged in that way. I think he felt acknowledged as a filmmaker and storyteller, but I think from his speech that night, which I still so vividly remember, I think all of us monster kids felt acknowledged in a huge way on Hollywood's biggest stage. But that movie, only the emotion of that movie works because of who's in the suit and that performance. And so to see it get acknowledged time and time again in so many categories, but there being one big absent category was your performance. Do you think that, and this is always the debate, of course, too, with motion capture as well, do you think we're any closer to that type of performance finally being acknowledged in the way it deserves?
At the Academy for the Oscars, you mean?
Just in general, yeah.
I don't know that the Oscars, that the Academy voters are in a place where they, I don't know. Well, plus I think too, I was in the studio, Fox Searchlight was putting me forward in all their for your consideration advertising for Academy voters, they were putting my name in the Best Actor category. Like, would you consider him? They didn't, and that's fine. But the fact that the studio was backing me I felt that was the closest to an Oscar I've ever gotten. And but I don't think the Academy voters were ready to vote for a guy in rubber bits. I don't know. So is there enough of that each year to create a category for it? That's I don't know.
I mean, it absolutely just deserves to be in the acting category, but if one step closer is to have some kind of performance category, with motion capture. But yeah, well,
it was lovely. And you know, when while we were working on Crimson Peak, I had a day off one day, and Guillermo called me at the hotel and said, "Would you come see me for lunchtime today?" So I went to the studio, and he to his office, and he came, "Come in, shut the door." I'm like, "Am I in trouble? What happened?" And he said, "I want to tell you about my next movie I want to do after this." Because he'd been doing big studio films, and he wanted to get back to a Pan-Labyrinth type of vibe, where an independent sort of feeling where he can do whatever art he wants without a studio over and going, "Do it this way, do it that way, do it that way." So I said, "Oh, it's about time. Good, thank heaven. What's this one?" He said, "Well, that's what I want to talk to you about." Then he described the whole story of Shape of Water to me. And he said, "And I want you to play this fish man." And I just done, I got to, is this any relation to Abe Sapien? And that's been a big question to everybody. I did this, no, completely different characters, different timelines, different backgrounds. And he said, "But listen, you're going to be the romantic leading man of this movie." We were just talking about a fish man, is that right? Okay, well, and only he could do a movie that pulled that off, right? Yeah. So designing the amphibian man's look was a long process. They went through so many trial and errors of colors and shapes, and the two areas on me that were the most talked about and the most tweaked were my lips and my ass. I had to be dateable and lovable and like kissable and grabbable, I guess. So I think they pulled that off. I have trying to tell you, the ass was so good that
and you wear it all the time then.
Wow. So we're sitting in our set chairs between shot setups, and I have our cast members, not Octavia Spencer was sitting here next to me, and I stood up to walk away for a minute for something, and as I'm standing up and walking away, I hear Octavia say, Yeah. That's when I knew they got the design right.
I mean, you had to make them sexy, and you did, because are there kids in the room?
So sorry.
We'll make it as PG as possible. The fact that it became known as the fish effing movie.
Oh, I know. It was about so much more.
It was about so much more. And Guillermo is somebody who I feel like constantly has 10 things because he's so excitable and he always wants to make the next thing. He's juggling things. What's the plans to work together again?
Well, honestly, here's the thing. He's working on Frankenstein right now. His original, which is going to be beautiful. Yeah. He started thinking about Frankenstein and announced it to the press that he was going to make his own Frankenstein movie back in 2008.
Yeah.
At the time, he said, "Doug Jones will be my monster," and I was like, "No!" I wet my pants again. So, but that was 16 years ago. Right? Yeah. So in the meantime, it's come and gone, been in development, out of development, back in development, out of development, and I've been working on other stuff. I was tucked away in Toronto working on Star Trek Discovery for many years, and so I wasn't available to him for other projects like Nightmare Alley or Cabin of Curiosities, like things he looked for me for. So his design for me as Frankenstein's monster is not what they're going to be using anymore. He's changed his artistic vision for it, and now it'll be Jacob Elordi playing the role. You know, Jacob Elordi from Euphoria and Saltburn and Priscilla. He played all this and that. Beautiful. He's a great actor. Yeah. So that kind of decision, that kind of artistic choice, along with me wanting to be kind of done with the rubber bits for now, it was a great turning of the page that we both kind of agreed on. We're best friends still to this day. Yeah. But we had a long chat about it in person last June a year ago. So it's all good and happy. Yeah.
In the meantime, you did, Frankenstein's monster aside, you did play another famous creature of the night, Nosferatu.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. So that's how it rolls.
We have to talk about this because it's not out yet.
Right.
It was an independent budget Nosferatu that is now competing with a big budget Nosferatu right on our tail. Right. We started working on ours first, but on an indie budget, it took. Ours is the original silent film from 1922, right? Scene for scene, ours is the exact same movie, with dialogue and sound, right? So it's not a silent film. So the story that you saw with Max Schreck playing Nosferatu, we're doing the same story. I'm playing Nosferatu now, and there's dialogue to flesh out the story that you're being told. And it's done in black and white, and there's a green screen element to every frame of our movie. That green screen element will be filled into something from the original movie. So I'm playing the same environment that Max Schreck did. It was amazing. It was so fun to work on. So that meant post-production was long and arduous and expensive, and with an indie budget, it took some time. It's finally done now. We had a test screening for a test audience here in Houston, in Irving, back in November. Yeah. I think it went pretty well. Yeah. And so now distribution is I have to ask some questions. I got to make some calls. Just remind me, I got to call him and say, what's up with this? Where's it at? Because the other Nosferatu is Robert Eggers directing it. It stars Bill Skarsgård in the same role. He's more famous than me, so I hope he come out first. Yeah. And
hopefully all ships rise. Yeah,
that's what I hope so. Yeah. But theirs is coming out on Christmas this year, so I hope we have some months to work on when we get ours out there.
And this was the same director that you did Captain Dr. Caligari.
That's right. This Nosferatu, our Nosferatu was David Fisher directed, and he's the same one who did the same process of old movie, new movie together. Yeah, it's so cool. The Captain of Dr. Caligari. If they remember that old silent film from 1919, and we did a talkie version of that with the same process. It came out in 2005-ish. Yeah. That you can see on YouTube for free in its entirety. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a little bit of time, so let's take it out to you. You guys ask a question last year. Even though we don't get to do a panel with Dermot, the good news is we can take the whole hour for this panel because it's the last panel of the day and it's the weekend. Yeah. We'll give you enough time to get back down. So, all right, here we go.
Hi, Doug. I just wanted to ask for Pan's Labyrinth, when you did the Pale Man, when that character was presented to you, was it already a complete idea, or did you add anything extra to that?
Good. Thank you for asking. The Pale Man for Pan's Labyrinth, yes. When I first got the script that Guillermo sent me, it was all about the faun, right? And the terror of having to do the faun in the Spanish language, paragraphs of exposition dialogue in language I don't speak. So I had to I was freaking out, and he said, "Oh, by the way, have a look at the Pale Man." So I looked at that. It was one scene I kind of glossed over, this is scary. Okay, he's got eyeballs in the hands. That sounds like Guillermo. Okay, and I thought he was a cheap ass for wanting 2 parts for the same price. Okay, got it. Then we film it. Oh my gosh, right? The set, and what it was actually looked like was, oh my gosh. It was, so I didn't need that. When you have Guillermo del Toro and the creature effects makeup team, like DDT effects specialists, you don't need to add anything. It's like they know what they're doing, they're really good at it. So let that idea ingest it. So all I had to channel was, I've been asleep for a long time, I'm very hungry when I wake up, and I eat children. Oh look, there's a child, right? That's all I had going through my head.
If I remember correctly, Pan's Labyrinth did win the Oscar for Best Makeup. Right?
It did win Best Makeup Oscar, right. It had 6 nominations, and it had 3 wins. Best Makeup was one of them. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey Doug, my name is Bryce. Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney, and Doug Jones, 3 great makeup-wearing thespians I would love to eat pizza with. I'm just curious, I read on your IMDb that you were on 5 episodes of Weird Al's show.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm curious to know what that was like, and also in Living Color, I think you were.
I did 3 episodes of Living Color. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is obscure and I love it. Yes, I did 5 episodes of the Weird Al show. It was a Saturday morning kids show. Weird Al was so good. He's a goofy fella, and I loved every minute of it. But it was a bit that he did in his show. Let's watch TV. And he'd sit down in front of a big TV with a huge remote control and go, boop, 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 and change channels, right? One of those channels was a workout show, like an exercise show. So that bit showed up in 5 episodes, right? So different things. And they had me and another contortionist girl, the 2 of us, that would bend up funny. And he was like the fitness instructor with a blonde wig on going, everybody, come on, let's do this. And we'd bend up in some whack-a-mini, position, stretching his arms out and us with our legs behind our heads. And so that was great fun. And then in Living Color, an old friend of mine, Mrs. Laurie, my lovely wife, was now a casting director, and said, you're a mime, right? I'm like, yes, I'm a mime. Well, they had a bit with a mime coming in a park, and Homie the Clown comes in, right? Played by Damon Wayans. And so a mime and a clown meeting each other, the age-old battle, right? So I end up miming in front of him, and he looks at the audience and goes, maybe he's over the head with his sock. So that was my first episode of Living Color. Well, now they liked me, and so then there was a Jim Carrey sketch coming. It was a music video. Jim Carrey had a character called Vera DeMilo. Yes! And like, he talks like that. And so there's a music video called Vera's Rap. And I need a buff neck man. Right. So vignettes of him as Vera DeMilo overpowering whatever man was with him. So I was a skinny guy in boxer shorts on top of a zebra skin covered bed. He was in a teddy with his ponytail. Oh my gosh. And we were wrestling, and it cuts to us moments later with me all twisted up and him putting a cigarette out of my butt. Well, Jim liked me, we got along well, so then they had me in another sketch, another episode, where he did this character called Background Guy. There'd be an interview going on in the foreground, and he'd be in the background doing whatever. So I was a Yeti in that. They were out in the forest. Someone was interviewing like a forest ranger with a boring interview you didn't care about, and he's in background with binoculars. Right. So then a Yeti comes through and chases him off, and then I chase him back through this way, and then all of a sudden I stop and look at the camera and notice it and start tap dancing, and then he comes through with his chainsaw and chases me off, and then fur starts flying, and he comes back in with a pelt of my fur. all of this interview's happening in the foreground, so it's great fun. Anyway, thank you for the obscurity of the day.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
And I just want to, since you mentioned your lovely wife, congratulations on 40 years of marriage. What's the secret?
Mrs. Laurie is the secret. She's the kindest, most forgiving, gracious human being alive. She's an angel. Yeah. And she puts up with all this.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Hi.
Hello, Doug. My name is Quentin. So, jumping off of what the last gentleman said, like Lon Chaney and Boris Karloff and you are really like a rare breed of actor who really embodies like in makeup and really becomes these creatures. And this is jumping off of kind of what we were talking about in the Joe Dante panel earlier, where they don't really make movies like they used to, and makeup creatures are kind of falling off, at least in terms of like big budget movies. Are there any up and coming actors that are kind of following in your footsteps?
Yes.
Who should we keep our eye out for?
Right. Well, thank you for asking. That's great. But I think we did lose the movie star monster of the past. We did lose them for a while. I think a director like Del Toro is bringing them back again for sure. Yeah. So thank you for coupling me with Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney. I don't deserve that, but thank you so much. But I think young up and coming, I get contacted by tall, skinny boy actors all the time. That's what you do. So there's a couple that are taller than me. They're 6'7", 6'8", 9. Dane DeLegro, he played the Predator in the new Predator.
Yeah, he was here last year. Yeah.
He's someone who came out to Hollywood and called me up and said, look, hey. So I met him for coffee. We talked. He invited me to the premiere of Prey, but it was very sweet. Dustin Seahammer is another tall one, tall skinny one. He's done a few. He was a robot in one of the Star Wars series recently. Help me out with that. And he's I can't remember his title now. Crap, but he's getting more successful all the time. Alexander Ward is another one, and Kevin Kepi is another one. So there's a few.
And Judas, who plays Chewbacca now as well, mentioning Star Wars.
Yes, he's lovely. Yes, he's great. Exactly. So there's a lot out there, and so I think the opportunities are opening up for more of that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bless you. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, it was such a sweet moment between you and Kevin Durant backstage. If you have not seen Apes, which just came out this past weekend, his performance is transcendent, and yet you have to acknowledge the motion capture actors and how they've been influenced as well by creature actors.
Well, Andy Serkis and I actually finally met each other.
Oh, wow.
At a Comic-Con after party years ago. And we'd been talking about to each other for years and never met. So when we finally did, I walked up to him at this party and said, Andy, Doug Jones. He goes, so we hugged and giggled for about 5 minutes. No words needed. And we agreed that we both do the same thing. Our makeup just goes on at different times.
Yeah.
Before his is after. Yeah. Yes. Hi.
I'm Andrea.
Hi,
How
Andrea.
long did it take for you to get in costume for Fawn and the Gentleman and Buffy?
How long did the makeup take? Common
A
question.
Buffy shout out.
A Buffy shout out.
Thank you very much.
Makeup's going to be different times for different characters, yeah. For the Fawn from Pan's Labyrinth, it was 5 hours a day. Now mind you, so much work is done ahead of time at the shops. When you're doing prosthetic pieces, they're not building everything on the day. A lot of it's been done ahead of time. There was the sculpting, the pre-painting of pieces. That takes a lot of time off. Getting it onto me is the last step usually. But the Fawn was 5 hours. There's a lot of pieces to put together and clip together and glue on and blend in edges. Then the Gentleman from Buffy, it was a 4-hour makeup application. There was more painting done on the day. It was more precise. And the terrifying faces we had, right? I know, right? Including my metallic dentures. Yeah. Well, bless you. Thank you.
This is fabulous.
Hi, I met you yesterday.
Yeah, well, that was you. Yes.
I feel bad for everyone sitting behind you.
Is that a normal you have on?
Yeah, exactly. As a creature performer as well.
Yeah.
For the Fishman and Ship of Water, what is your backstory for your character development of like where he came from and like just for you personally, just to be able to embody him on film?
Right. Well, having played a Fishman before this, I wanted to make sure that they weren't the same.
Yeah.
And Guillermo del Toro was very instrumental in helping me realize that Abe Sapien is from the comic book world, so he's not he's very smart and very cultured and speaks eloquently and reads 4 books at a time and loves classical music and fine wine. Okay, great. The Shape of Water, Amphibian Man is a monster from the wild. He's an animal from the wild, right? So there's your differences right there. He's not a refined gentleman at all, and he does not speak. So I make noises, and Guillermo kept reminding me the entire time, not only am I the romantic leading man of the movie, but I'm also an animal, right? So if I gave him anything too human in any scenes, if I was gesturing in a way that was human, or he would go, Buggy, ha! Got it. Animal, I got it. Yeah, so a case in point would be the bathtub scene where one of the, spent a lot of time in Eliza's bathroom. But this was the scene where her neighbor, played by Richard Jenkins, was sitting there like sketching me, and he had this conversation with me, and I was just kind of looking at him, and he was spilling his heart out to this monster in the bathtub. And what I was channeling was, I am the family dog. Everybody talks to the dog.
Wow.
And what does the dog really understand? We don't know. But he gets a vibe from you for sure. So I was getting a vibe from Richard Jenkins and letting the words just go, right? Exactly. So if that answers your question, I hope. Thank you.
All right, we got a few minutes left because I want to make sure our guys some time to get back to the table, so you can all go personally say hi to him. But let's try and get through these. But
Fast round. That's me. I gotta talk fast.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to know, what's your favorite scene in Hocus Pocus 2?
My favorite scene is Hocus Pocus 2.
Yeah, favorite scene.
Well, I did a lot of movies with Sam Richardson. He and I went off on our little adventure off to the side. I think it might have been the very end of Welcome Back Together in the Forest. And I see the witches for the first time in the movie, right? I've been brought back, and I'm like, ugh. And when Winifred comes up to me, hello, Betty. And he said, what did I say to her? My head was sitting on the edge of the cauldron, right? So it was like I was headless at that point. And I think I said something like, hello, you hag. And anyway, that was a lovely exchange. And that whole scene there where I'm watching them meet their demise and was lovely. And I got my head back on finally again and could have my final goodbye. It was kind of lovely and poetic and very sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love what we do in the shadows and the Baron. I was just wondering, like, what it was like working on that show and playing the Baron and working with the cast of that show.
I love the Baron, and I love what we do in the shadows. I was not supposed to last this long on the show. I was in the pilot episode, stark naked, coming out of a sarcophagus up in the attic, right? And so it was just supposed to be this one appearance in the show, and they were going to end up, I was a bit of a threat, because I'm there to check up on my vampire. They were going to close my casket up while I was asleep and send me down the river, and you're never going to see me again. While we're filming the pilot episode, one of the creators of the show, Jermaine Clement from the original movie, said, Doug, we're having too much fun with you. Can I bring you back again? I'm like, yes! Can I wear clothes this time? So episode 6 of season 1 is the Baron's Night Out. And that's when I had the pizza pie. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Oh, that was ridiculous fun. We giggled and laughed the whole time. But at the end of that episode, I got burned by the sun when the door accidentally opened in the front, right? And that was supposed to be the end of me. Jermaine Clement said once again, Doug, we are having too much fun with you. If I find a way to bring you back magically, can we do it? I'm like, yes. So in season 3, they dug me up out of the backyard with half my body, right? And so it's been, we laugh every day, all day. And the current, we just finished filming season 6. So, yes. It's the final season. Yeah, unfortunately, it's the last of it. So that'll be airing. Who knows when it's going to start airing, but I'm going to be back for 4 more episodes of season 6. I'm hungry for pie all of a sudden.
Isn't it?
It's a pizza pie. It's a pizza pie.
You eat pie?
Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for being with my wife and I while she was in labor.
I was.
I know.
Was I holding the camera?
No, you were on TV.
Sorry, on TV?
Yeah, you were on the TV. It was during COVID. It was like October of 2020.
Oh, God
and so
bless.
they were running Hocus Pocus on a loop for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so it dawned on me while I was listening to you. I was like, oh my God, who was in the room?
Oh, was that that's the year that they ran it back to back for 24 hours? I remember that. Yeah.
My kid was born once.
Oh, I was a part of the birth of your child.
So you're literally like watching the baby come out of your wife, and you look up and you just see the bench on. That's really good. Yeah. Never heard that one before. Hi.
Hi. Well, first thing that popped in my mind when you pranced on stage was like the chaos that must ensue if you and Martin Short are ever in the scene.
Oh, dear God. Oh my God. You as just an actor on Only Murders in the Building is something. Oh my God, that's
Like
something that
remake
needs to happen.
twins, I don't know.
Yeah, I love him. I'm a big fan. Never met him. A big fan of his.
He's amazing. But I mean, you guys share the energy. It's
Oh, bless
uncanny.
you.
But I was just wondering like how you fell into mime and
and who your mentor or mentors in mime were.
I started as a mime back in college at Ball State University in Indiana.
Oh,
You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
I lived in a men's dorm, and down the hall from me was a guy named Reed K. Steele. Reed Steele was a senior, and I was a freshman. But he was a mime who had been trained by Richmond Shepard, who had been trained by Marcel Marceau. So he had quite a lineage of mime training. And he ran a student group on campus called Mime Over Matter. That's a pun. And so he was observing me as I came to and fro around the dorm in the lunchroom or whatever. And he came up to me one day and said, "Have you ever heard of mime?" Like, mime, pantomime? Is that the, yeah. I run the mime troupe on campus. Would you want to come see one of our shows? I think you'd be great. So, as you can see, I'm talking with my hands all the time. So I went and saw one of their shows, and there I am watching skit after sketch after skit after sketch of these people in black leotards with a black curtain behind them, white gloves, and nothing else. No verbal dialogue, and all these stories being told. I laughed, I cried, I saw things that weren't there. I was like, I love this art form. So I auditioned for the mime troupe, got in, and then that was my freshman year. So by my senior year, I was the leader of the mime troupe at Ball State University. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we got time for these last few.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about a scene in Hellboy 2 when you and Ron Perlman are singing Barry Manilow.
Yes.
Ringing Ducatis. Like, was that all all totally written out, or did you and Ron Perlman come up with anything in that moment?
It was all scripted. Guillermo del Toro is a brilliant writer.
I was imagining Cowboy wrote that.
And so he kind of came up with this moment for in a superhero movie to have them get drunk and sing, which I thought was great. Now the original script though didn't have the song picked out yet. So when we got to Budapest, Hungary to start filming, first question I had for Guillermo was, okay, so the singing scene. What song did you get licensing for? He goes, Barry Manilow's Can't Smile Without You. Because I know the whole Barry Manilow catalog, right? It was great fun. Thank you. Thank you.
You can bid it down.
Yep. Here we go.
I just wanted to know if you wouldn't mind sharing maybe a story about our dearly departed Kenneth Mitchell from Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
That would be lovely.
Oh, yes. Any Star Trek Discovery fans? Kenneth Mitchell was a guest star of ours, and he played, I think, 4 different characters on our show. He started as a Klingon in the first season, and he played that same Klingon's uncle later, and he played that same Klingon's son in another episode. And then he brought him back as a human in his last appearance on the show. Well, he, in season, I think we were filming season 2, that's when he was diagnosed with ALS. And it was devastating to hear a young, vibrant, good-looking father of 2, athletic, and just like, what? You can't control when these things happen, can we? So, but the show started was so good to bring him back in whatever state he was in physically, and they created a role for him, whatever he could do. It was like, oh man, don't get me started. You!
Yeah. We almost made it the whole time.
But I love Kenny to death, and knew him socially outside of the show as well. Spent time with his family and his kids, and just a dear soul. And he never lost his sense of humor. He's a funny, like acid tongue. He had a sharp tongue, a naughty tongue. And, he was a cusser and a joker until the very end. He lost his voice somewhere along the way. We had his last appearance on the show was not in prosthetic makeup, but he couldn't walk by this point, so they had him in a tilted sort of floaty thing. He was a mad scientist on the show, and gave a brilliant performance as a human. He was like the love interest, sort of dear friend of our nemesis lady of that season. So when we said goodbye to him on that, when he was wrapped out of that episode, we kind of figured this might be the last one, and it was. He lost his verbal voice because he had a contraption on an iPad that would talk for him. He had recorded every sound, every verb, every noun, a lot of phrases ahead of time, and now when he lost his voice, he had an iPad that he could look at, and he could spell things out, and it would talk for him in his voice. Wow. It was precious. And the last convention that he did was a Star Trek convention in Chicago, and we were doing a big panel together, and my name came up because he started in prosthetic makeup, and we got together and talked about prosthetics and wearing them. It was his first time ever playing a monster ever, so I kind of gave him some coaching. And so when asked about me, he had a pre-recorded thing on his iPad, and he kind of pulled it up and he started going off. And he made fun of me, he cussed at me, and then he loved on me, and it was like I was sitting there going, oh, and in front of this entire audience. No, he's a dear, dear soul. And he just passed away during the, we were on the Star Trek cruise in February, and that's, he passed away a couple days into it. He'd been on the cruise 3 times, and so a lot of the passengers on the cruise had met him, loved him, had been around him for these cruises. So we had a big rave night in his honor while we did the cruise. And you were there.
You were there. Wow. Thank you for your question. All right. Last question of not only this panel, but of Texas Frightmare Weekend.
Whoa!
Before
They did a good one. Don't fuck it up. No pressure.
Hello, my name is Alexa.
Hi,
It's nice
Alexa.
to meet you. My question, I love the Baron as well.
Thank you, Doug.
What was your favorite scene to shoot as the Baron?
Oh gosh, there have been so many. I loved all of them. Oh gosh. Well, I don't want to give anything away about season 6. We have a couple of very funny scenes in season 6, and epic. We did. One was in the crowd scene, which I loved. But of everything you've seen so far, I'll give you a couple on today. Okay, so the Baron's Night Out was just an epic half hour of television, okay? And once the other vampires were saying, oh, Baron, I don't think you should eat the pizza pie. I'm having the pizza pie! And so I took a bite, and it was a little heavy on the garlic. Blah! I started vomiting, right? Up in the sky, back and forth, back and forth. And it was like, are they playing this for too long? But the longer it went, the funnier it got. So I think that was one of the biggest laughs I've ever been part of in my life, ever. I also loved in season 4, when I was, that's when my legs had fallen off. I was a crusty, burnt, image of myself. Only one arm was kind of fused to me. And Nandor's getting married, and he wants me to officiate his wedding. Well, I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm not than I used to be. Everybody's going to be there judging. Yeah. So I said no. So Nandor had some wishes from a genie, and one of his wishes that was to return the Baron to his original glory. Well, then I'm revealed at the wedding, and I'm the star of the wedding, not them, right? Yeah. I'm walking out as me with this blonde wig on and my big, cape and my full body again. That was a glorious entrance, right? And I was wearing some gold shoes with a high heel on them that I kept.
Wow. He's wearing them right now. I like to put little things in here to see if anyone is going to bring them up, and they're the most obscure things, but I have to acknowledge that Mr. Doug Jones, of all the things he's done, he was in the video for Smash Mouth's All-Star.
Oh, yeah.
He was also, and what got him in that music video, one of the most underrated comedies of all time, Mystery. So no one acknowledged Pencilhead, and I would like to go ahead and acknowledge Pencilhead. Wow, we really got through a lot of them. Quarantine, The Thin Infected Man,
The Great Infected Man at the end of the movie.
Great remake of
which is one of the best descriptions of me ever. Thin Infected Man.
Yeah. And I think we got through all your major and minor credits. I just want to say, what's up? There we go.
How do you know about that?
Were you in Unsolved
I was in Unsolved Mysteries as Gordon Page. Yeah, he was a missing autistic boy that grew up, and they're still airing that episode to this day, which means they never found
They never solved the mystery.
It breaks my heart because I met his whole family to do that episode, and I looked enough like their son. That's why I got cast as him. And so when the mom met me, she broke into tears. It was heartbreaking.
Well, dude, thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for getting on that moment. Well, I kind of love that this ended up being the last panel, I think we all grew up loving horror movies, and what brings us to this convention is because we are all the people in this room, yourself included, identified more with the monster than the humans in the movie.
Yeah.
We were identifying with Frankenstein's monster, not the angry townspeople who were the monsters in your life. And so to have you here and for you to have portrayed so many monsters that we have connected with and see ourselves in that aren't actually monsters, it really means a lot to us. And you're kind of I think our creature spirit animal here. And if we have an official mascot of the horror community, you're certainly it. I know you grew up identifying in that same way and felt othered as we all have. So you have provided so many things that mean so much to us as a community. And that's what these conventions are really about. And so that's my parting words for Texas Frightmare Weekend 2024. Thank you so much. The best convention. Please try and enjoy the last hour. Go see Doug Jones at this table. And thank you. Thank you for today. Here we go. Let's keep it going. Give it up for our staff, our Texas Frightmare Weekend class rep, office, everyone in the back here, all the volunteers, Lloyd Fryer, who makes it all happen.
I'm sorry.